Imagine for a moment that the most powerful voice you will ever hear is not the one coming from the outside world, but the one that comes from within. The dialogue you hold with yourself creates the chemistry in your body, the vibration in your energy field, and the reality you begin to experience. For just 7 days, if you were to speak to yourself with the language of love, possibility, and creation, you would begin to rewire your mind and transform your state of being. Every word you whisper inside becomes a signal, and every signal is a command to your brain and body to prepare for a future that matches that vibration. When you rise in the morning, instead of replaying yesterday's doubts, imagine waking up and saying to yourself, "Today I am unlimited. Today I choose to create from possibility." Feel those words not as empty affirmations, but as codes you are programming into the subconscious mind, because your subconscious does not argue, it accepts. And when it accepts new thoughts, it begins to organize your biology, your emotions, and even your perceptions to match that new reality. For 7 days, watch how your body responds when you keep telling it, "I am healthy, I am whole, I am more powerful than my past." The chemistry of stress begins to fade, and the chemistry of growth begins to flourish. Throughout the day, when challenges arise, notice the old voice of limitation trying to speak. It will say, "You can't do this. You've always failed before. You're not ready." That is the conditioning of your past, the familiar voice that has held you captive. But now, for these 7 days, you train yourself to answer back with a new inner language. You say, "I am not my past. I am becoming something greater. I am capable. I am worthy." With each reply, you are not only interrupting the old neural circuits, you are building new ones. Neurons that fire together, wire together. And when you keep firing the language of empowerment, you are wiring a new personality, a new identity, and a new destiny. At night, before you drift into sleep, this self-talk becomes even more powerful. The door to the subconscious opens, and your last thoughts begin to take root. Instead of rehearsing the disappointments of the day, you say to yourself, "I am grateful for the opportunities unfolding for me. I am aligned with abundance. I am at peace with who I am becoming." You fall asleep not as a victim of circumstances, but as a creator planting seeds into the fertile soil of your subconscious. And those seeds will begin to sprout in the form of synchronicities, opportunities, and elevated emotions in your waking life. 7 days is not a long time, yet it is enough to begin the process of transformation. The way you speak to yourself is the way you tune your energy, and your energy is the signal that draws life back to you. If you talk to yourself with love, strength, and vision, you broadcast a frequency that life cannot ignore. For 7 days, treat every thought as if it matters, because it does. Treat every word as if it is sculpting your future, because it is. And when you commit to this experiment of self-talk, you will begin to feel a shift, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. The old self fades, and the new self emerges, and that new self is the one you were always meant to become. When you open your eyes in the morning, you are standing at the doorway of a brand new reality. The mind is most impressionable in those first few moments after waking, and it is in that delicate space between sleep and alertness that you can begin to reprogram your entire life. Most people wake up and immediately reconnect with yesterday. They think of the same problems, the same people, the same worries, and in doing so, they summon the same emotions that keep them chained to their past. But if, instead of rehearsing yesterday, you decide to take command of your inner dialogue, you begin to change the trajectory of your day. Imagine telling yourself as soon as you wake up, "Today is a day filled with possibility. Today I am not the same as I was yesterday. Today I choose to live as the creator of my destiny." In those words, you are giving your subconscious mind new instructions, and because the subconscious does not argue or question, it begins to accept and prepare your body for that reality. This is how morning self-talk becomes a powerful tool of transformation. When you speak to yourself with intention at the start of the day, you are not simply motivating yourself, you are aligning your biology with your vision. Words are not just sounds, they are vibrations carrying meaning and energy. When you say, "I am unlimited," your body begins to feel the chemistry of expansion. When you affirm, "I am healthy and whole," your cells receive the signal to move toward balance and repair. When you say, "I am grateful to be alive today," your heart opens and your energy begins to shift into elevated emotions that attract more of what you desire. The morning becomes your laboratory, and your words are the instruments through which you sculpt your state of being. And the state you carry into the day is the lens through which you experience life. A state of possibility creates opportunities, while a state of fear and worry only draws more of the same. Think of it this way: when you turn on your phone or computer, it runs based on its programming. If you do not update the software, it keeps running old codes, repeating the same patterns. Your mind is no different. When you wake up and repeat yesterday's thoughts, you are running old software, and the day ahead becomes nothing more than a recycled past. But when you consciously program your mind each morning with empowering self-talk, you are installing new software that opens the door to new experiences. The brain begins to wire new neural connections, and the body begins to memorize new feelings. What starts as words in the morning becomes actions throughout the day, and those actions eventually shape your future. The power of this practice lies in consistency and emotion. It is not enough to say words mechanically. You must feel them in your heart. If you tell yourself, "I am abundant," but inside you feel lack, the subconscious picks up on the stronger signal of emotion and continues to produce experiences of lack. But if you close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and truly feel the energy of abundance, as you speak it, your body begins to believe it is real. The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined with emotion. This is why your morning self-talk must not only be repeated but also embodied. When you speak with feeling, you change your vibration, and when you change your vibration, you change the frequency you broadcast to the universe. And life, being the mirror that it is, will reflect that frequency back to you. Even the smallest shifts in your morning words can have profound effects. Imagine two people waking up. One opens their eyes and says, "I hate mornings. Today is going to be hard. I feel tired already." They carry that energy into their morning routine, into their commute, into their interactions, and the day unfolds as they predicted. Hard, tiring, and uninspiring. The other wakes up, stretches, and says, "I am thankful for this new day. I am energized and ready. I choose to see opportunities today." They walk with more lightness, notice different possibilities, and attract more positive encounters. Both people are living in the same external world, but their inner self-talk creates two entirely different realities. For 7 days, if you commit to practicing this kind of intentional self-talk in the morning, you will begin to notice subtle but undeniable changes. You will feel lighter, more focused, and more empowered. Your energy will shift from surviving the day to creating it. You will find that people respond differently to you because your vibration is different. You will also notice that situations that once triggered you no longer have the same power because you are starting your day from a place of inner strength rather than reactivity. The key is that each morning becomes a rehearsal for the future you are creating, not a repetition of the past you are trying to escape. When you align your self-talk in the morning with the vision of the person you want to become, you are essentially rehearsing that identity until it feels natural. If you want to be confident, you talk to yourself as a confident person would. If you want to be successful, you talk to yourself if success is already a part of you. If you want to be peaceful, you speak peace into your own heart before the world even has a chance to disturb it. In time, those words become beliefs, those beliefs become behaviors, and those behaviors become your destiny. The morning becomes not just the start of another day, but the foundation of the new life you are building from within. There is a moment in every person's life when the old voice of limitation tries to take over. It is the familiar whisper that says, "You can't do this. You failed too many times before. Who do you think you are?" That voice is not the truth of who you are. It is simply the echo of the past, a memory loop that has been repeated so many times it feels like reality. But reality is not fixed, it is created. And the first step to creation is recognizing when that old dialogue arises and interrupting it with a new, more powerful inner language. This practice is not about denial, it is about conscious choice. When you hear the old voice, you stop it in its tracks and replace it with the words of the self you are becoming. For 7 days, If you dedicate yourself to this simple but profound discipline, you will notice how much of your life has been unconsciously shaped by that limiting inner narrative, and how quickly you can begin to free yourself from it. The brain is like a record player that has grooves etched into it. The more you replay a thought, the deeper the groove becomes. When you say to yourself for years, "I am not good enough. I always mess things up. I'll never succeed," those grooves become deep tracks that your mind automatically follows. Without awareness, you unconsciously play the same song every day. But the beauty of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, is that you can carve new grooves, new patterns, new songs. Every time you interrupt a limiting thought and replace it with an empowering one, you are firing new neural connections. When those connections are fired repeatedly, they wire together, creating a new mental program that begins to run automatically. This is how you rewire the mind from limitation to possibility. The challenge, however, is that the old voice feels familiar, and the brain and body are addicted to what is familiar, even if it is painful. Stressful thoughts release chemicals that the body becomes used to. When you try to change them, your body resists. You may feel discomfort, doubt, even the urge to quit, but that is not a sign you are failing. It is a sign that change is happening. In those moments, speaking a new truth to yourself is like shining light into a dark room. It may feel strange at first, but the more you practice, the brighter it gets. Imagine hearing the thought, "I can't do this," and calmly replacing it with, "I am learning to do this. I am capable. I am growing." Each time you do this, you weaken the old circuit and strengthen the new one. Think of it as training the mind like a muscle. If you have always lifted the same weight, your muscles will only grow to a certain point. To grow stronger, you must challenge them with something new. The same applies to self-talk. If you have always spoken to yourself with weakness, the moment you begin to speak with strength, it feels unnatural. But that unnaturalness is the workout. With repetition, the words of empowerment begin to feel natural, and the words of limitation lose their grip. It is not about ignoring the old voice. It is about refusing to let it be the loudest voice. When you consistently replace it, you are literally teaching your brain to choose a different path. Imagine a path in the forest that has been walked on for years. It is clear, well trodden, easy to follow. That is your old voice of limitation. Now imagine deciding to walk in a new direction. At first, there is no path, just grass and obstacles. It feels difficult, maybe even impossible. But if you keep walking that new way, step by step, the grass flattens, a trail forms, and soon it becomes the path you naturally take. Meanwhile, the old path grows over and fades. This is exactly how your self-talk reshapes the mind. You are not simply repeating words, you are building pathways to a new self. The most powerful part of this practice is that your words affect not only your thoughts, but also your emotions and your actions. When you say to yourself, "I am worthy," you begin to feel worthiness. That feeling changes the way you stand, the way you speak, the way you approach challenges. When you tell yourself, "I can handle this," you create a sense of resilience, and that resilience influences how you act in the world. Over time, the new inner dialogue becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The world mirrors back to you the strength you have been cultivating within. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach begin to appear, not because the world has changed, but because you have. For 7 days, watch carefully the words you allow inside your mind. Notice when the old voice arises, and without judgment, gently but firmly replace it. If it says, "I am too weak," you answer, "I am growing stronger every day." If it says, "I don't deserve this," you reply, I am worthy of love, success, and joy." If it says, "This is impossible," you affirm, "Everything is possible when I align with my true potential." At first, it may feel like a battle, but with time, it becomes less about fighting the old voice and more about no longer giving it power. The new voice becomes your ally, your constant reminder of the person you are becoming. This is how transformation happens, through the dialogue you choose to hold with yourself. The old voice of limitation will always try to speak, but it is not the author of your story. You are. And when you consistently replace that voice with one of strength, love, and possibility, you are no longer a prisoner of your past. You are the creator of your future, one word at a time. The moments before sleep are some of the most powerful in your entire day, because the mind is moving from the conscious, analytical state into the subconscious, receptive state. It is in this window that the language you speak to yourself becomes the programming your subconscious mind absorbs, and the subconscious does not argue, it accepts. Most people, however, spend their nights rehearsing the problems of the day, replaying conversations that triggered them, or worrying about tomorrow's uncertainties. When they do this, they are planting seeds of stress, doubt, and limitation in the fertile soil of their subconscious, and those seeds sprout into more of the same experiences in the days to come. But imagine if, instead, you ended your day with intentional words of empowerment, gratitude, and peace. Imagine whispering to yourself as you lay in bed, "I am grateful for today. I am aligned with abundance. I am at peace with my journey." In that moment, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are a conscious creator programming your future while your body rests. The science behind this is profound. When you drift into sleep, your brain waves move from beta, the busy waking state, into alpha, and then into theta, the dreamy state where the subconscious becomes open and impressionable. This is the same state that children live in during their early years, which is why they absorb information so easily. If you fill this state with words of love, worthiness, and possibility, you are directly influencing the operating system of your mind. Over time, this new programming becomes automatic, shaping how you think, feel, and act when you wake up the next day. This is why nighttime self-talk is not a small ritual. It is a doorway into lasting transformation. Consider the difference between two people falling asleep. One person lies in bed, thinking, "I never get things right. Tomorrow is going to be another stressful day. I don't know how I'm going to handle it." As their body drifts into rest, their subconscious absorbs these commands, and they wake up carrying the same stress and doubt into the new day. The other person lies in bed and says to themselves, "I did my best today. I am grateful for the lessons I learned. Tomorrow brings new opportunities. I am becoming more aligned with who I want to be." Their subconscious accepts these words, and while their body sleeps, their mind organizes itself around this new identity. When they wake, they feel lighter, more open, and more ready to face life with strength. Both people had the same 24 hours, but the dialogue they chose at night determined the quality of the day that followed. Your subconscious is like a garden. Whatever seeds you plant before sleep will grow, whether you are aware of it or not. Negative self-talk is like planting weeds that overtake your inner landscape, while empowering self-talk is like planting flowers that blossom into beauty. For 7 days, if you end each night by speaking words of gratitude and possibility to yourself, you will notice a shift not only in how you feel in the morning, but also in the way your external world responds. Opportunities will begin to show up. People will treat you differently, and challenges will feel less heavy because your inner state has been tuned to a higher frequency. Life is not happening to you, it is responding to you. And your nightly dialogue is one of the most powerful ways you can adjust that response. Gratitude is especially powerful at night because it opens the heart. When you say to yourself, "I am thankful for this day. I am thankful for the people I love. I am thankful for the opportunities that are unfolding for me," your heart emits a different electromagnetic signal. This signal influences not only your body's chemistry but also the field around you. Gratitude brings coherence to the heart and brain, creating harmony in your nervous system, which allows your body to rest more deeply and your mind to create more clearly. As you sleep, your subconscious continues to process this elevated emotional state, making gratitude not just a feeling but a new baseline for how you live. It is also important to speak to yourself at night as if the life you desire is already happening. If you want health, you say, "I am grateful for my healthy, strong body." If you want abundance, you affirm, "I am aligned with wealth and opportunities." If you want peace, you whisper, "I am calm, balanced, and at ease." These statements are not fantasies, they are instructions. The subconscious does not know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. If you repeat these words consistently, your subconscious accepts them as truth, and your brain and body begin to act as if they are already real. Over time, the external world begins to mirror this inner state, and what once seemed impossible becomes natural. Ending the day with empowering self-talk also heals the nervous system. Many people live in a cycle of stress where their bodies never truly relax, even during sleep. By speaking words of peace and safety to yourself, you signal to your body that it is okay to let go. You tell your nervous system, I am safe now. I can rest. I am supported. As the body receives this message, cortisol levels drop, tension releases, and you slip into deeper, more restorative sleep. And when you wake renewed, not drained. This simple practice of nighttime dialogue becomes a form of self-healing, allowing the body and mind to recover in ways that worry and stress could never allow. For 7 nights, try treating your last words to yourself as sacred. Instead of giving your subconscious the leftovers of stress, give it the nourishment of vision and gratitude. Speak gently, slowly, with feeling, as if you are tucking your soul into bed. Say to yourself, I am grateful. I am worthy. I am ready for tomorrow's miracles. Let these words be the lullaby that carries you into sleep. In just a week, you will notice a profound difference, not only in the quality of your sleep, but also in the quality of your life. Because when you change the way you end your day, you change the way your days begin, and over time, you change the story of who you are becoming. 7 days may sound like a short time, but it is more than enough to begin shifting your entire state of being if you commit to talking to yourself in a new way. The words you repeat to yourself are not just idle thoughts, they are vibrations that tune the frequency of your energy. Every time you speak to yourself with empowerment, you send signals into your nervous system that change the chemistry of your body, alter the patterns of your brain, and broadcast a different energy into the field around you. That field is not separate from your life. It is the magnet that draws experiences, people, and opportunities to you. When you change your inner dialogue, you change your frequency. And when you change your frequency, life cannot help but reorganize itself to reflect that shift. 7 days of disciplined, intentional self-talk can dissolve parts of the old self that no longer serve you and begin aligning you with the greater version of who you are meant to be. Most people underestimate the power of a single week because they believe transformation must take years. But the truth is that the body and mind respond immediately to new commands. In fact, research shows that just a few days of repeated focus can begin to rewire neural circuits in the brain. If you spend 7 days talking to yourself with language of love, possibility, and abundance, you are firing new neural networks every single time. And the more you fire them, the more they wire together, creating a foundation for a new personality, a new identity. Think of these 7 days as the planting of seeds. A seed does not need years to sprout. It only needs the right environment and consistent care. The same is true for your inner transformation. What happens in those 7 days is that you begin to witness the separation between the old self and the new self. The old self is built on repetition, old thoughts, old feelings, old words. It is predictable and familiar. The new self is born when you decide to interrupt that repetition and replace it with empowering dialogue. On day 1, you may notice resistance. The old voice of limitation may scream louder than usual because it senses it is losing control. By day 3 or 4, you may start to feel lighter, more hopeful, as the new voice begins to gain strength. By day 7, if you have stayed consistent, you will sense a subtle but undeniable shift in your energy. The old grooves in your mind will begin to weaken, and the new grooves will feel easier to follow. What seemed forced at the beginning will begin to feel more natural because you are literally becoming a different version of yourself. This transformation is not just mental, it is emotional and energetic. Every time you speak words of worthiness, your body begins to feel worthy. Every time you affirm abundance, your heart begins to open in gratitude. Every time you declare possibility, your nervous system relaxes and you stop racing against life. In 7 days, you can change the baseline of your emotions from stress and doubt to trust and empowerment. And because emotions are energy in motion, this shift changes what you attract. A person who feels unworthy draws experiences that confirm unworthiness. A person who feels abundant naturally draws experiences of abundance. 7 days of consistent self-talk is enough to tip the scale, moving you from the old emotional set point into a new one that aligns with the life you desire. It is important to understand that 7 days is not about completing a transformation. It is about proving to yourself that you can change. Most people never begin because they think the journey is too long. But when you commit to a short, focused period, you bypass the mind's excuses and step into action. 7 days becomes a container, a sacred period in which you give yourself fully to the practice of speaking differently to yourself. And once you see the results, the calmer mornings, the lighter energy, the stronger sense of self, you realize that change is not a future event. It is something you can initiate now, with nothing more than your own words. The beauty of this 7-day commitment is that it awakens you to the truth that you are not bound by the past. The old self is not permanent, it is a habit, and habits can be broken and replaced. When you talk to yourself with love, power, and vision for a week straight, you begin to dissolve the identity that was built on fear and doubt. The you that was small, reactive, and conditioned by yesterday starts to fade. In its place, a new self begins to emerge, one that is aligned with possibility, resilience, and creation. And once you taste that new self, even for a few moments, you will never again fully believe the old voice of limitation. At the end of 7 days, you will realize that your self-talk is not just words, it is destiny. Each thought, each phrase, each affirmation is a brushstroke painting the picture of your future. If you spend 7 days painting with the colors of strength, gratitude, and possibility, the canvas of your life begins to change before your very eyes. You may notice synchronicities, unexpected opportunities, or even small shifts in how others respond to you. These are not accidents. They are reflections of your new frequency. The universe mirrors who you are being, not what you are wishing for. And for 7 days, you have been being someone new. In this way, the commitment to 7 days is both a practice and a revelation. It is a practice because it requires daily discipline, and it is a revelation because it shows you just how much power you truly have over your life. Once you know that your inner dialogue can change your outer world, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are a creator. And the old self, with all its limitations, no longer feels like your home. Even though 7 days is only the beginning, it is enough to set you on a path where you can never fully go back to who you once were. You have tasted what it means to speak to yourself as the person you were meant to be. And that taste is the spark of transformation that can carry you forward for the rest of your life. For 7 days, you have the power to change the entire rhythm of your life simply by changing the way you speak to yourself. Every morning becomes the foundation of a new beginning. Every interruption of the old voice becomes an act of liberation. Every word you whisper before sleep becomes a seed planted in the subconscious. And every day you practice this, you step closer to the greater version of yourself. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are a creator of your future. And the language you choose is the tool with which you build it. Speak to yourself with love, with vision, with worthiness, and with gratitude, and watch how the world rearranges itself to reflect the truth you have claimed. 7 days is all it takes to begin, and once you begin, you will realize that you were never waiting for life to change. You were waiting for yourself to speak differently, to feel differently, and to become the person you were always meant to be.